I never thought my 2M lottery win would expose the truth about my family's love. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. I was standing in line, my hands trembling, the crumpled ticket clutched tightly in my palm like a life raft. I felt a thin mix of excitement and dread swirling in my chest. The woman at the counter looked up, her eyes wide, mouth agape. "You're serious?" she whispered, almost reverent, as if the ticket itself were a precious artifact. My heart raced. I had just become a millionaire, but that was the moment my illusion of happiness shattered that I rushed home, every pulse echoing in my ears. My family lived in chaos, love tangled up in expectations and whispers. My parents, always comparing one child to the other, never satisfied. My older brother Jason, immersed in his own world, and my younger sister Mia, lost amid the chaos. Each of us marked by our struggles, our desires drowning in the tides of family loyalty. I could feel their gazes and judgments like knives, piercing through the excitement of that win. As I entered the house, the smell of mom's cooking wafted through the air, an invitation to comfort. But today, it was different. I sensed an undercurrent of tension. I could almost hear the sarcastic whispers pressing against my ears. Now she can finally do something with her life. I laid the ticket on the table, its promise shimmering under the kitchen light, a beacon in the darkness. My family gathered, eyes flicking from the ticket to me. Hope. Greed. Was it love I saw or desperation? The argument started. It erupted like a volcano. "You'll finally help us out, right?" my brother spat. "What about me? I need that money to fund my startup." Mia's eyes darted between us, wide and scared. I thought about the bitter truth: my family had always wanted something from me. Yet, I craved their love. But would they still love me when I said, no? I felt the lump in my throat growing, an unyielding weight pulling me down. Mom's voice broke through the chaos. "You have a choice now, honey," she said softly, but her eyes were sharp, scrutinizing. "Don't forget who your real family is." My heart sank. What did that mean? Where were the lines drawn? All these years, I fought to prove I was enough, and now this win, this blessing, felt like a curse wrapped in gold. Was I really ready to find out how deep the love or the manipulation went? And then, just as I braced myself for the storm, I noticed it. A shape emerging from the shadows in the corner of the room, a figure wrapped in uncertainty, face obscured. My breath caught, fear igniting within me. Who was it? What did they want? The air thickened, chilling my bones, and in that moment, I realized this win had not only brought me fortune but unleashed secrets I wasn't prepared to face. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The figure in the corner took a small, cautious step forward, the sunlight casting a long shadow across the room. Moments stretched, filled with whispered breaths as my family turned their attention away from the tumult to the enigma that stood before us. My heart thrummed loudly in my chest, a rhythm of fear and anticipation. It was my cousin, Sarah, the one who had always been a fleeting presence at family gatherings but someone I felt an inexplicable bond with. Her eyes were wide, glistening with unshed tears. "I couldn't stay away," she said softly, her voice trembling yet laced with a raw intensity. "I didn't know you when I just needed to talk to you." Suddenly, the chaos around us faded into a dull roar, and all I could focus on was the trembling desperation that laced her words. "Not now, Sarah." My brother scowled, dismissing her like an uninvited guest. "We have more important things to discuss." The moment hung heavy, and I sensed an unexpected warmth rising within me, a flicker of protection towards Sarah, a part of me that had always known her struggles in the family. "Jason, stop." I felt myself rise, a surge of unexpected strength as I turned to Sarah. "What is it?" The accusation in my brother's tone mirrored the criticism mirrored at all of us, but in that breath, I chose to embrace the possibility of connection, rejection creeping away for the moment. Sarah stepped forward again, tears framing her pale cheeks. "I heard about your win and there's something I need you to know. Something about family." I could see the war of emotions crossing her features, fear and hope entwined in a dance of desperation. "I don't want to hear anything about family right now," Jason muttered, his voice layered with annoyance, but I felt a weight of inquisition descend upon me. What had she stumbled upon? What truths lurked beneath the surface of our so-called family love? With the tension thick in the room, I stepped away from my family, instinctively, toward Sarah. There was relief in the ephemeral flicker in her eyes as she searched my gaze for understanding. "Promise me you'll hear me out," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "There's been secrets about how this win could change everything for all of us." The air shifted subtly, the weight of her words creating a crack in the wall of silence that had long surrounded our family's dynamics. I could feel my mother's eyes burning into me as if I were crossing an invisible boundary she had drawn. Yet, in that moment, I felt a tether between Sarah and me, marked by a shared burden we so easily carried alone. "Talk to me," I said, my heart racing as I tried to hold on to this flicker of hope that maybe just maybe we could forge a path to understanding. "What are you scared of?" I glared at Jason, willing him to understand that there was something innately vital in acknowledging our truth, yet afraid that my plea for compassion would fall on deaf ears. Her glance flickered toward my brother, a shadow of fear passing across her face. "You don't know how deep the fractures go. This money is about more than just help. It can unravel everything we thought was true." My heart clenched at the thought. In trying to secure compassion and devotion from my family, I could become the architect of their unraveling. A flash of uncertainty gnawed at me, but just as quickly, a glimmer of hope began forming in the depths of my heart. Maybe there was a way to reach the truth without losing those I loved, a path to healing where I could still stand firm. Before I could press Sarah for more details, the door swung open violently, and there stood Mom, her expression a canvas of tumult. "Sarah, why are you stirring things up? You shouldn't be here." A weight settled in the room, reinforcing the fractures Sarah had mentioned. I felt the fight-or-flight instinct respond deep within me, wanting to shield my cousin, to stand beside her even as the tumultuous storm of my family loomed overhead. I caught Sarah's eye, her silent plea for strength resonating in time with my own shivering resolve. Then came the ringing of my phone. The sound sliced through the strained air like a knife, startling each of us into silence. I glanced at the screen. It was a number I didn't recognize. I hesitated, conflicted between the squabble unfolding around us and the unknown voice on the line. The moment stretched until I finally answered. "Is this the winner of the 2 million lottery?" The voice on the other end inquired. "Yes," I replied, a cold knot of dread forming in my stomach. "Who is this?" The voice hesitated for a moment before it spoke again. "You need to listen carefully. There's something you should know about your family. Something critical that could change everything." A pulse of fear surged through me, intertwined with curiosity, a lightning bolt of dread mixed with the thrill of clandestine secrets. I glanced around the room, meeting Sarah's anxious eyes, and suddenly it became eerily clear this might not just be about love. This was evolving into a labyrinth of betrayals, waiting to unravel and ensnare me completely. My heart raced as I braced myself for the revelation that would follow, knowing it would unveil an even darker truth hidden beneath our family ties. Just as I took a stumbling breath to ask the caller to clarify, Jason's voice cut through the room, rising in a storm of fury. "Who the hell are you talking to?" His sharp words pulled me back into the present, leaving the disembodied voice pulling at the threads of my curiosity suspended in a tense silence that I palmed my phone tightly, still connected to whatever fierce storm was brewing on the other end. It's a call about the lottery," I stammered, turning away from the raw intensity radiating from my brother, who stood on the verge of an outburst. "About what?" Mom snapped, catching the shift in my tone that hinted at something more. All eyes were on me, the tension so thick it felt like an invisible thread ready to snap. "Let me finish," I started, my own voice trembling. "They said there's something I need to know. About our family." The moment those words left my lips, the room snarled with the weight of unspoken truths, a cacophony of heartbeats echoing in the silence between us. "Enough!" Dad shouted, his figure rising from where he had been seated, a pillar of authority that no longer felt solid but rather trembled with fear. "This is not the time for family drama. Sarah shouldn't have come here, and you shouldn't be entertaining calls from strangers." An undercurrent of his disappointment washed over me, and I felt an almost primal instinct to defend my right to know, to feel. "But what if it is important?" My voice cracked, the plea hanging in the air like a fragile bubble waiting to burst. I looked to Sarah, whose face was a mixture of sympathy and concern. "Sometimes the truth is more than we can handle, but we have to face it." Her whispered words felt like a secret worth keeping, a shield against the family storm brewing. Jason huffed, feet tapping into a furious rhythm. "Whatever you think you're going to uncover, just remember there's a lot at stake here. It's not just about you anymore." "Maybe it never was," I shot back, impulsively, letting the defense rise protectively around Sarah and me. "Maybe this opportunity could be our way to finally lay everything bare." The air crackled with a tension far thicker than before, but nestled within it lingered a fragile glimmer of potential reconciliation. "Accepting the darkness doesn't shake us loose from the light," Sarah murmured, almost to herself, but I caught her words wrapped in something stronger than desire. They carried the heavy weight of hope. It was clear she truly believed in the possibility of redemption, even when the shadows loomed large. And then, just as the silence threatened to suffocate us, the caller spoke again, this time more urgent, the tension in his low voice impossible to ignore. "You don't understand. If you don't listen now, it might be too late for all of you." I squeezed my eyes shut for a moment, wrestling with the gravity of the situation. I had been seeking connection, family bonds that felt frayed and torn, yet here I was on the precipice of unearthing secrets, unshackling revelations that could shatter what little trust remained. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, even as uncertainty washed over me, heart racing and pulse quickening, sensing Jason's fiery gaze burning into the back of my neck. "I'm someone you'll want to hear from," the caller responded, and my heart sank as the words hung ominously in the air. "You need to know about money going missing in your family. It connects to your win. Your family isn't who you think they are." At that moment, a chill coursed down my spine, a visceral warning from my instincts. "What do you mean?" I whispered, dread wrapping tightly around my throat as uncertainty spun wildly within me. "Secrets don't stay buried forever, and you've just unearthed them," he said cryptically. "Trust me, this isn't about the lottery. It's far more dangerous. All of them letting you win wasn't just chance." Just then, the groundbreaking truth came tumbling headlong towards me, and I could feel the threads of my family's dynamic unraveling. My heart beat erratically, the thrill of the unknown battling with the terror of betrayal. "Stop it!" Mom's voice thundered. Through the chaos, where I could see her face turn pale, teeth clenched against the implications, as realization washed over her. "You don't know what you're picking at." But for the first time, I saw something betray my mother: fear, vulnerability. In that instant, all my questions about the weight I felt pressing against me turned into a kaleidoscope of possibilities. I cast one last glance at Sarah, whose eyes reflected the same sacred torment coursing through me, the very depth of our roots intertwined with echoes of pain. I realized that the path before us was not solely about untying the knots of our painful histories, but rather confronting the very foundation of our family where love had masked something far more sinister. And just like that, I could feel the precarious balance falling apart, as if the world was shifting beneath my feet, each new word a loose stone ready to drive my family over the edge of an uncaring abyss. As I pressed the phone tighter against my ear, a shiver raced through me, and the voice on the other end ended with a chilling farewell. "I recommend you don't trust anyone, but your life depends on this." And without warning, the line went dead, leaving the silence so palpable it felt like a firecracker poised to explode. All my thoughts spiraled into darkness, the gravity of this moment spiraling deeper, craving for answers while knowing that uncovered truths could cripple the bonds that had held us together for so long. The silence echoed like a forgotten song, filling the room with an eerie chill as I dropped my phone to the floor. My heart raced in sync with the chaos swirling within me, each beat reminding me of the secrets lurking just beyond the veil of my family's facade. Moments stretched out, heavy with unspoken fears and longing, while the faces around me blurred into a collage of uncertainty and dread. "Sarah, I need to talk to you," I spoke, my voice barely breaking the tension as I stepped away from the gathering storm of my family. It was the kind of urge that welled up, demanding action, even though I could feel my legs tremble beneath me. She nodded, her gaze flickering to Jason and then back to me, understanding the gravity of whatever monumental shift had just taken place. "Let's step outside." I followed her into the dimly lit hallway that led to the back door. The air felt heavier here, like it was weighted with too many unvoiced secrets, but I needed space to breathe it. "Oh, did you hear what he said?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "I did." Sarah's face paled, yet determination sparked behind her eyes. "What do you think he meant?" "About money going missing? I don't know, but it feels like everything is built on lies. What if my win was more like bait? What if it's all twisted up with the past? What if he's right?" The panic bubbled inside me, a mix of fear and anger, feeding on the turmoil already nestled in my heart. "That he could just be trying to mess with you," she countered gently. "But what if there's truth in his words? It sounds like we have to find out what happened." I felt crushed under the weight of betrayal, my mind racing with thoughts of all the family gatherings, the laughter, the stories shared. How could everything have been a lie? How can I trust anyone? My family, the people I love, they might have been hiding something terrible. "That I get it," she said, her voice a soft anchor in a storm. "But we can't let fear paralyze us. If there is something to uncover, we owe it to ourselves to know the truth. Together." Her words brought a flicker of warmth to the icy dread settling in my stomach. I desperately sought a glimmer of hope in this swirling abyss. "Together," I echoed, and for a moment, I felt the strength of that conviction weaving a fragile bond between us. Just as I felt a little more grounded, a light flickered on behind the glass door at the back entrance. Startled, we turned to see a silhouette enter the house, a figure I hadn't expected. Dad was coming around the corner, his expression torn, caught between anger and concern. "Sarah, leave her alone," he barked, the authority in his words still crackling with the previous tension, sharp enough to cut through our moment of resolve. That I shot back, fueled by an undeniable fire. "No. I deserve to know what's going on, and if you think this is a joke, then you don't know me at all. Do you think this is about you?" He stepped closer, his voice dangerously low. "You may think this lottery win is your ticket to happiness, but it's only highlighting everything we've tried to shield you from." There was a palpable hurt embedded in his words, but it was intertwined with something else, fear for what was coming. The unyielding pride that usually defined him seemed to crack like thin ice under pressure. "Then tell me. Help me understand." My voice trembled with raw emotion, a plea rising from within that shook me to my core. "Why is everyone hiding? What is the truth?" His silence spoke louder than any confession. The lines around his mouth creased with tension, and it felt in that moment that he was wrestling with the enormity of the decisions he had made in the past. Instead of softness, instead of answers, he glanced behind him, as if gauging how much our family could bear before the inevitable collapse. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw Jason stride down the hall, uncertainty painted across his features. I clenched my fists, taking deep breaths to steady the tumult of feelings threatening to envelop me whole. "Maybe we should start from the beginning," Jason said finally, the tone of his voice now softer than before, but edged with caution. "You're right. You deserve to know what you're getting into. Or maybe even how deep this goes." Even amidst my brewing chaos, a shiver of hope flickered. Perhaps the truth could ignite something anew, an opportunity for healing in a space marred by betrayal. But before any other words could spill, we heard a crash resonate from the living room, a sound like glass breaking. Time slowed, and I exchanged petrified looks with Sarah and Jason, panic racing in my veins. "What was that?" I whispered, instinctively stepping forward to bridge the distance, the fear igniting an unbidden sense of urgency. Then, through the layered air crackling with anxiety, Dad's voice called out from the other room, grimmer than I'd ever heard him, "Get back. It's not safe." Completely consumed by terror, I rushed past Jason, barely registering his protest, and as I rounded the corner into the living room, my heart dropped. There, scattered across the floor like shattered dreams, lay the remnants of what had once been a cherished family portrait, every smile now fractured, every memory splintered, and then I noticed something, a single, folded note, laying just within reach, inscribed with spidery handwriting that sent chills down my spine. Desperate to know, I knelt and reached for it, my heart racing, unaware that the explosive weight of what was to come was now bound between these fragile paper folds. "Wait." I heard Jason shout just as I opened it, leaving me frozen in an instant. I held my breath, knowing there would be no turning back. The note's edges were rough, yellowing from age. My hands trembled as I unfolded it, revealing a scrawling script that seemed both foreign and heartbreakingly familiar. But the words were jarring, filled with desperate urgency and haunting implications. That I can't keep lying, not anymore. The truth will find you, whether you're ready or not. Know this, your win connects us to what we feared, what we buried. Find the key. It's the only way to protect yourself. The final words echoed in my head like a dissonant chime, repeating over and over. My breath quickened as I processed each line. The truth, buried fears, the key, protect myself. From what? A chill ran through me, mingling with the warmth of hope that had flickered within only moments before. The chaos of emotions turned my heart achingly tight. Behind me, Sarah gently placed a hand on my shoulder, grounding me for a moment. "What does it say?" I turned to her, eyes wide, anguish spilling forth. This was intentional. Someone wanted me to find this, and if it connects to my win, it means they know. They know about everything. Maybe it's a warning. Jason suggested, stepping closer, his previously tentative demeanor fading. Now, fierce protectiveness and resolve ignited in the depths of his gaze. "We can't ignore this. We have to figure out what it means before it's too late." Dad's expression morphed from anger to panic as he caught sight of the note. "Put that down, Sarah. You have to trust me," he said, but his command fell flat against the urgency thrumming through my veins. "Trust you? After all the silence, all the half-truths? How can I ever trust you again?" I demanded, feeling the rising tide of frustration swell within. This is everything. This is my life now." His face fell. I could see the years of juggling lies and truths weighing heavily on him, but no comfort appeared in the depths of his eyes. "You don't understand what you're asking. You're opening a door better left closed. The truth isn't sympathetic, it breaks people." "Then it's broken already," I shot back, anger and sorrow intertwining in a painful knot. My heart raced with the knowledge that the very foundation of my família, of my life, was cracking under the pressure of secrets kept too long. With trembling hands, I refolded the note, cradling it carefully as if it were a living thing. What do I do with this? This isn't a family issue anymore. This is my life, and I won't let fear dictate who I am. Just then, a small figure appeared in the doorway, small but undeniably present. It was my younger sister, Lily, clutching a stuffed bear, wide-eyed and bewildered. "What's happening?" she asked, breaking through the thick tension surrounding us, her innocence radiating in a world spiraling away from its axis. That I felt a fresh wave of vulnerability wash over me, the weight of my responsibilities crashing in an unyielding rhythm. "Lily, sweetie," I said, forcing my voice to soften. "We're just talking about some grown-up stuff." "What stuff?" she pressed, her childlike curiosity unyielding. Before I could respond, Dad stepped closer, kneeling to her level, his voice careful. "It's nothing for you to worry about, love. Just some family confusion." But a spark ignited within me, fueled by the stark contrast between my sister's innocence and the tangled web of secrets unfurling around us. How could I shield her from the storm when it was I who had to confront it? I realized, I had to protect my sister from the very things that had already poisoned my family, to make a stand against the shadows of our past. "That I am done being confused," I said, breaking through the barrier of fear. "Lily deserves to know the truth. We all do." My father looked at me, a storm of emotions swirling behind his eyes, fear and sorrow battling against a well-trained facade. You don't know what you're asking. Some truths are too dangerous. The air crackled with unacknowledged tension as I held my sister's hand firmly, gazing brightly into her questioning eyes. In that moment, my heart swelled with a bittersweet determination. I could no longer keep this cage of realities from breaking open. The truth was out there, and it was calling to me, its voice rumbling from deep in the shadows. That I want back down, I declared, the words tumbling from my lips with a newfound ferocity. If it means exposing the truth to protect my family, then I'll face it head-on. No more silence. But as those words hung heavily in the air, an uncomfortable reality settled over me. Had I just opened Pandora's box? Would the truth shatter everything I fought to save? Before I could find an answer, my phone buzzed ominously on the ground, the screen flashing an unknown caller ID. Unease prickled at my skin, a premonition brewing beneath the surface. One unsteady glance at my father revealed a look of dread as his expression turned pale. Do not answer that, he cautioned, but it was already too late for that now. My heart raced faster with each passing second as I bent to pick it up, knowing this call could change everything. Would it pull me deeper into the dark secrets of my family, or lead to a glint of hope buried beneath the chaos? The room felt thick with uncertainty as I debated my next move, an emotional cliff beckoning me from the brink. The quiet yet thunderous ring of resolve filled my ears, daring me to embrace whatever lay ahead, even as shadows began to loom larger than ever. The tension was palpable as I stared at the screen, the unknown caller ID blinking insistently. My hand trembled slightly before I swallowed hard, my finger hovering for a moment before I finally swiped to answer. Hello? My voice sounded steadier than I felt. This Ainsley. The voice was smooth yet carried an unsettling undercurrent that made my stomach churn. Yes, who is this? I asked, trying to keep the quiver out of my voice while shooting a worried glance at my father, who stood visibly tense, his hands clenched at his sides. Let's just say I know more about your family than they've let on. And so does it appear the truth is about to catch up with you all, the voice said, its tone both ominous and chilling. You've won more than just the lottery, Ainsley. You've won a chance to uncover a legacy or a curse. What do you mean? I demanded, gripping the phone tighter until my knuckles went white. Panic danced through my veins, but a part of me felt compelled to stand firm. My resolve was unyielding. You'll see soon enough. Just remember, it's not the winning that matters, it's the weight of what you've inherited. Don't let your family shield you from what's coming. The call abruptly ended, leaving an unsettling silence in its wake, broken only by my racing heartbeat. I dropped the phone, dread pooling in my stomach. The weight of the words hung in the air, wrapping around me like a cold embrace. My heart felt like it had stopped, the mixture of fear and curiosity coursing through me was overwhelming. What inheritance lay buried beneath layers of silence and lies? And how deep did the darkness go? What did they say? My father's voice broke through my spiraling thoughts, though his face was still a mask of apprehension, what remained of his earlier resolve crumbling beneath the weight of the revelation. It's complicated. They mentioned something about a legacy, I murmured, the words barely escaping my lips as I pushed down the desperate need to unravel the truth. I wasn't ready to expose my family's most entangled secrets. There were implications here I didn't quite understand. Dad looked at me with an expression of raw intensity that spoke of fun for himself, but for our family, our fragile state of being. Anguish flickered in his eyes. You don't want to dig into this. Leave it alone, leave it alone. I echoed incredulously, turning away as frustration ignited within me. I can't just ignore it. I have to know. Knowing might tear us apart, he pleaded, though his words sounded more like a warning than an argument. You have what you always wanted, keep that close. That's what matters now. My thoughts flared with images of the lottery win, a tangible triumph that had felt like a lifeline, yet after that call, it began to morph into a heavy burden I had never anticipated. Was it merely a prize, or was it the key to unlocking wounds long left untouched? Before I could respond, Sarah stepped forward, her presence grounding yet hesitant. Ainsley, this is bigger than just use. It's about Lily too. We can't let this spiral out of control. Maybe we should consult someone, a specialist or a counselor. No. I snapped, my voice echoing in the fragile silence. I refuse to let fear dictate my choices any longer. There's something being kept from us. Maybe it's how this one connects to our family's past, and I need to uncover it. We can't afford any more secrets. The room thickened with the weight of my declaration, a dark cloud casting shadows over our unity. Just then, Lily's small voice beckoned from the doorway again. Can I come in? I'm bored. Well, be out in a minute, sweetheart, I replied, attempting to mask my mounting frustration and concern behind a smile. The idea of dragging Lily into this turmoil felt like a fresh betrayal. Once again, my focus turned inward, the vortex of emotions swirling with newfound intensity, determination battling against fear, a sense of duty pulling me toward the crux of the truth. A sense of hope crept in regardless of the uncertainty, flickering timidly against the chaos. I had Sarah's support, Jason had stepped forward with steadfast loyalty, and Lily's innocence remained my guiding star. In a world where shadows haunted every corner, I had to believe there was kindness yet to be found. Perhaps my search for the truth would lead to not only understanding but healing, unraveling years of silence to breathe life back into the spaces we had kept dark. And yet, beneath the swell of my defiance lurked an abiding fear. What if instead of finding answers, I awakened a storm that would unravel everything I loved? Suddenly, a gentle knock on the door pulled my thoughts into focus. We turned to see Lily poke her head through, the stuffed bear in her arms and a curious frown on her small face. Can we have ice cream? I want to celebrate. Amid the heaviness, a small spark ignited within me. The innocence of her request clawed at my heart, a reminder of the simplicity that still lingered just beneath the chaos. In that moment, I realized a truth bigger than any legacy or hidden family history. It was about protecting the brightness of those who still carried hope, for those who deserved to be unchained by the past. Let's get some ice cream, I said, holding my sister's hand, a soothing warmth coursing through me amidst the tension. And then, as if the universe conspired to test my resolve, the unmistakable sound of a doorbell reverberated through the house, pulling everyone's attention. It sliced through our tentative peace like a knife, stirring unease in my chest. As I turned toward the door, the uncertainty clawed back, a new emotional cliff ready to plunge me into depths I wasn't sure I was prepared to confront. Who or what awaited us outside, and would I be ready to face the truth that awaited beyond that threshold? The door swung open with a creak that echoed through the heavy silence, and my heart raced as I laid eyes on the figure standing on the threshold. A sharp gasp escaped. Meth person before us was not just an unexpected visitor but a ghost from our family's hidden past. Hello, Ainsley, the woman said, her voice oddly warm yet tinged with pain. Her auburn hair framed a face marked with the years of life that bore stories untold. It's been a long time. Recognition bloomed slowly, tangled with disbelief. Emily. I stumbled over the name, words caught in a web of confusion and apprehension. My father's face contorted with a mixture of shock and something darker, the memories flashing between us like wildfire. Mom, Sarah began, hesitating, her voice faltering. But Emily continued, ignoring the brewing storm within the room. I know this might be a shock. I didn't mean to intrude, but she paused, looking directly at me, their shared ache cutting through the unspoken walls between us. I've come because of your lottery win. There are things you need to understand. I stepped back instinctively, my grip tightening around Lily's hand as if to shield her from the sudden influx of chaos. Why now? Why after all this time? We thought you were dead. Lost? None of that fits the truth I'm here to share, she said gently, taking a step forward, her voice infused with a sense of urgency. There's a legacy tied to your win, something that isn't just about money. Your family, we've been intertwined in a dark history, a century of mistakes passed down through generations. And it's time to unravel it. Is this a joke? We've survived for so long without you, Dad interjected, his voice strained. The walls of our fragile structure began to shake. Survived, yes. But at what cost? Emily's eyes glistened, a mixture of regret and determination. I took my heart out of the equation years ago to protect you from what was always going to come back. The truth has a way of surfacing, especially now. Your win has awakened old ties, and it's time for you to choose. Confront the missed moments and suffering of your family's past or let it keep festering in silence." The weight of her words hung in the air, and I could feel the collective breath of my family hitching, caught between the promise of healing and the dread of facing what had been buried. I glanced at my father, and the soul-deep pain in his eyes exposed everything we dared not speak about. Do you even know what you're asking us to do?" I challenged, my voice trembling as I fought the urge to both run away and cling to the hope that had flickered to life. "You left us. You chose to disappear. I was trying to protect you," she replied, desperation rising in her tone, a desperate plea oozing from her frail frame. "And yet here I stand with a million questions I never thought I'd have to ask," I retorted, the fire within me igniting once more. "How do I know you didn't come back to ruin us?" Her silence was profound, a chasm that opened wide between us, filled with unspoken memories and countless moments robbed of connection. For so long, her absence had shaped the very core of our existence, creating rifts wet buried under layers of denial, love, and longing. Just when I felt the weight of everything spiraling beyond control, Lily tugged my arm gently. "Can we still get ice cream? I'm hungry." Her bright eyes blinked up at Emily, untainted by the shadows that loomed over us adults. In that moment, a wave of tenderness washed over me, the small light igniting amidst the discourse. "Let's step outside," I suggested, desperate for a reprieve from the tidal wave of emotion. An ice cream break might help us focus. As we made our way outside, the cool air greeted us like an old friend, refreshing but filled with an unsettling charge. I could feel the weight of Emily's presence behind me, a specter haunting our attempts at normalcy. Just as we reached the garden, I heard a muffled conversation drifting alongside the wind, the murmurs laced with impatience. My heart sank when I saw two figures standing at the edge of the property, a pair of unfamiliar faces, watching our family. As they stepped into the light, their intent became painfully clear. "Mom, who are they?" Sarah's whisper was barely audible, but the fear in her voice swept through all of us. Those are my colleagues." Emily's voice trembled, and a shadow of dread crossed her face. "They're here because of your win too. They need to know what will happen next." The realization crushed down upon me like a weight that threatened to bury us. We stood on the precipice of our shared storm, the truth beckoning us closer, yet the steps forward felt more menacing than ever. The familiar fear knotted in my stomach. I turned my gaze back to Emily, my resolve mingling uneasily with confusion. She had opened the door to a legacy I didn't ask for, and now, standing before these unfamiliar faces, I was left teetering on the edge of revelation and terror. Whatever waited in the depths of our family history was no longer an idle thought. It spiraled closer, pulling us into a whirlwind of potential catastrophe. And despite the flickering embers of hope lit by Lily's innocence, the path ahead lay shrouded in uncertainty, ever more daunting. I took a deep breath as the faintest spark of courage nestled within, aware that we were all on the verge of unraveling or perhaps arriving at the truth that could set us free. The sun hung low in the sky, its golden rays casting elongated shadows across the garden. I stood silently, my heart pounding as I clutched Lily's small hand, the warmth of her innocence grounding me as the reality of our situation swirled chaotically around us. The unfamiliar figures at the edge of our property were not just strangers, they radiated an air of urgency mixed with something darker, something dreadful that sent icy tendrils of fear creeping up my spine. "What do they want?" Sarah looked between Emily and me, her eyes wide with confusion. "I don't know," I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the storm raging within. "But we need to find out." I turned toward the two figures. They stood there, watching us with gazes that felt too piercing, too knowing. Emily hesitated, fear traced across her features. "They're from the organization that monitors." She paused, as if struggling to articulate the words that felt wrong in her mouth. "They monitor our family's past, its ties to the winnings. It's complicated." "Complicated?" Dad's voice rose, tension pulling his brow tight. "You mean that the money isn't just ours to enjoy? There's more to it? Why didn't you tell us?" "Why now? Because I thought I was protecting you." Emily's voice broke, the tension of years rushing to the surface. "There are rules, and they are not gentle with those who fail to follow them. I thought we could outrun it. We can't outrun anything now." Dad snapped, his voice taut like a drawn bow ready to snap at any moment. The thoughts tangled in my mind, the fear of our fortune turning into a debt weighed heavy, and I could see it beginning to twist his features. As Dad and Emily faced off, I felt Lily's grip on my hand tighten. Her wide, innocent eyes flitted from the adult's anger to me, as if searching for reassurance. I knelt beside her, forcing a smile that felt brittle. "Hey, kiddo, let's distract ourselves for a minute. How about we go pick some flowers? There's a prettier view over there," I said, pointing to the blossoming petunias in the far corner, desperate for a moment of calm amid the tumult. "Okay." With a smile, she broke free from my hold and scampered off towards the flowers, her laughter ringing like a wind chime in the fraught atmosphere. "I swear, Ainsley, if she gets hurt because of your decision to engage with this mess." Dad's voice was sharp, but I could feel the undercurrent of his own fear. "Do you really think I would let anything happen to her? To any of you?" I snapped back, anger flaring as I felt the weight of responsibility heavy on my shoulders. I stood amid this chaos, aching to protect our family, even as the truth clawed at the fabric of our lives. The figures at the edge of the property were moving closer now, their faces stark against the fading sunlight. One stepped forward, and I resisted the urge to step back. "We need to talk about what this lottery win means for your family. It's deeper than just a financial blessing," he said, his voice gravelly with certainty. Emily turned to him, her expression reading a mix of dread and resignation. "I've tried to protect them from this." "Protect them?" The woman beside him shot back, her tone dripping with disbelief. "You've thrown them right into the fire. They are targets now." Chill coursed through me at those words. "Targets? What does that mean? What trouble is this lottery win bringing?" I didn't recognize the urgency in my voice, it was laden with desperation. The man took a step closer, his gaze locking onto mine, and in that moment, I could see the truth I had been shielded from all along. "Your family has a legacy intertwined with both fortune and misfortune, and something has been stirred by this win. You must prepare for the consequences of your past." "What consequences?" The words slipped out before I could think better of them. "Those ties that Emily spoke of, they reach far and deep. You're at a crossroads, Ainsley. There's a history of betrayal, revenge, and business interests that have not yet forgotten the name of your family. This win has made you a game piece in a much larger scheme. Behind me, I could feel tension ripple through Emily and my father. The weight of the conversation pressed heavily into the fragile state of our reunion, the air thick with uncertainty and looming dread. Just as I felt the ground shift beneath us, Lily called from the flower bed, her tiny voice cutting through the daunting atmosphere. "Look, Mom. I found a butterfly." She held up her hand, cupped delicately around the fragile creature that settled happily amidst the blooms, vibrant and resplendent against the gathering gloom, but my heart sank. Here was a bright moment overshadowed by the dark reality encroaching upon us. "Sweetie, be careful," I admonished, feeling the fracture of joy as I glanced back at Emily. "Maybe you should come back now, Lily. Come here, honey." Dad bellowed, his voice taut with worried as Lily bounced back toward us. That butterfly flitted away, carrying with it the last shred of innocence I had hoped would portal us away from the encroaching storm. The man took a step closer, preparing to unravel secrets long kept hidden, as the light dipped further. "You need to decide, Ainsley. Will you embrace the truth of your family's legacy and the dangers that come with it, or will you be swept away as it unravels around you?" I felt my breath hitch, the enormity of it all crashing down on me. Part of me screamed to flee, to protect my family from what lay ahead, yet another part yearned for clarity, yearned for the answers that seemed painfully close and yet tantalizingly out of reach. And as I stood teetering over a chasm of uncertainty, the question echoed in my mind like a war drum: what price would I be willing to pay for the truth buried in our past? The days that followed the unsettling visit from the two figures blurred into a haze of anxiety and whispers. Each morning, I awoke with a knot in my stomach, the air thick with an unshakable tension. I had tried to shield Lily from the turmoil swirling around us, but it felt like an impossible task. Sarah moved through the house with a distracted air, Emily's guilt clung to her like a second skin, while Dad's simmering rage seemed to find new outlets every time he entered a room. "Why did you have to get involved with that mess?" His voice boomed one evening, cutting through the stillness of the dinner table as he pushed his plate away. "Now everything is at risk that we could have hidden from our past forever," Emily shot back, her voice trembling. "But this win opened the door, and they aren't going to let us forget it. I didn't want to burden you, Dad. I thought it would be simple, a way to give us a fresh start, fresh start." Dad echoed, his face reddening. "This isn't a fresh start, it's a curse," I forced down a surge of frustration. It was futile to argue while the storm raged around us. The ramifications of our finances had morphed into a web of hidden truths I was desperate to untangle, yet every question led to more darkened corridors. I looked across the table at Lily, blissfully unaware, tracing pensive shapes on her placemat, and felt a swell of protectiveness like an invisible barrier. "Can we just focus on her?" I interrupted, my voice softer now. "Let's be there for Lily. She deserves some stability, even if we don't feel it right now." The air around us crackled with unresolved emotions, but Dad turned his back on the heated conversation, seeking refuge in the sanctuary of his phone. I knew his avoidance was rooted in fear, the very same fear that clenched my heart each day. Later that night, after tucking Lily into bed, I headed to the garden, seeking solace in the delicate blooms gleaming under the moonlight. I stopped in front of the petunias, where Lily had found that butterfly, a stubborn image of hope lodged in my memory. There, in the quiet, I felt small but resolute. I needed to take control. As I poured my thoughts out into the empty night, the distant sound of footsteps broke my reverie. Nervously, I turned to find Emily stepping cautiously into the yard, her eyes reflecting the array of stars above us. "I need to talk," she said, and there was an urgency in her tone, a timeless weight pressing down on our connection. "About what the visit from the organization means." That I nodded, feeling an ache in my chest rise as I recalled the look on her face the night before. "Do you know more? What's coming?" "They're not just interested in the money, Ainsley. They want something from us, something tied to our family's name." Her voice cracked, but she pushed on. "Our ancestors had dealings that are much darker than we've ever understood, and I thought we were far away from it, but we're not." That I swallowed hard, grappling with the disbelief intertwining with my fear. "What kind of dealings? Why didn't you say anything sooner?" "I thought if I kept it hidden, we could all move forward. But now I see how naive that was." I wanted to scream at her for keeping us in the dark, for placing us at the intersection of turmoil and uncertainty. But instead, I dropped my gaze to the ground, my heart racing as the weight of her confession hung in the air between us. "They've put a target on our backs because of our family name, the legacy it carries. There are people who will come after us to reclaim what they believe is theirs," Emily continued, voice trembling with urgency. "We are part of something bigger, and it's threatening our lives." "Emily," I whispered, feeling the tremor of dread pool inside me, "who are these people? What do they want?" Just then, a creeping chill slithered through the air as if the darkness responded to my question. An unexpected gust of wind rustled leaves around us, the night amplifying our fears. I braced myself, but she reached out, her hand finding mine, grounding me while her eyes searched mine, vulnerable and glistening. "That I don't want to lose you," she admitted. Her voice barely a whisper. "You're my family, and we need to band together, but it may require sacrifices. I'm not sure I can make that." In that moment, dread loomed larger, a shadow descending upon the fragile time we had embraced. The enormity of her words carved out doubt and confusion within me. What could the price of truth and loyalty entail? Before I could respond, the distant hum of a car pulled into our driveway, headlights piercing the quiet night with an unsettling glow. Heart racing, I turned to see who it was, instinctively squeezing Emily's hand as the figure stepped from the car. The door swung open, and I felt my stomach drop into my shoes. The last person I expected, someone I hadn't seen in years, stepped into the light, a familiar smile spreading across their features, but their presence buzzed with tension that was impossible to ignore. "That I thought I might find you here," the figure said, and though their tone was calm, the darkness lurking behind their eyes spoke volumes. I felt Emily's breath hitch beside me, fear etched across her face, reflecting my own turmoil. As we exchanged horrified glances, I realized that whatever remaining shred of normalcy we had clung to had been stripped away. Just when I thought I might understand our past, it unveiled layers I never knew existed, threats deeper than I could have imagined, and now standing before me was the embodiment of that fragility. My family is a target now, and the game is about to begin, I thought, feeling the ground slip beneath me, a new cycle of dread opening before us, unyielding and relentless. As the figure emerged from the shadows, I squinted, hope and terror battling in my chest. It was Daniel, my estranged uncle, a man whispered about in hushed tones for years. His appearance shattered whatever fragile semblance of certainty we still clung to. He stepped forward, his confident smile at odds with the panic swirling around us, capturing my family's attention and stoking the fires of fear that raged inside. "Ainsley," he began, his voice a velvet whisper coated in familiarity. "It's been a long time." His gaze roamed over my family, gauging our reactions, like a puppeteer assessing how well his hand controlled the strings. "You've stumbled into something much larger than you can comprehend. Get out!" Dad shouted, stepping protectively in front of me and Emily, his voice a primal growl that echoed through the trees. "We don't need your brand of chaos. Is that truly how you want to greet me after all these years?" Daniel's tone turned sharp, cutting through Dad's indignation like steel. "I've come to help, and you'll need all the help you can get." "Help? Or more trouble?" I countered, anger bubbling beneath the surface, threading itself into the space between us. "You don't get to just show up when it suits your agenda." He smirked, and for a fleeting moment, the weight of my ire felt like a child's fist against stone. But I couldn't afford to let my guard down, too much was at stake now, my family on the precipice of an uncharted abyss. "You're right," he admitted, his demeanor shifting, the sincerity I had hoped for washing across his features. "You're tangled in a legacy far darker than anyone here realizes, a lineage marked by consequences that echo through time." I felt Emily's breath catch, and my heart tightened in response to the ominous tone settling over us like a pregnant storm cloud. "What legacy? What are you talking about?" I demanded, yearning for clarity amid the muddied waters. "Your family has been an unknowing pawn in a larger game of power and revenge. This lottery win, while a boon, has also awakened old rivalries. It's time you know about the secret ties our connection, Ainsley." I felt as if the ground beneath me was being pulled away, and dread gripped me viciously. "What do you mean, our connection?" Daniel stepped closer, his voice low, compelling. "I'm your last living link to the truth about the fortune and the dark dealings that come with it. I came to prepare you. You've been chosen, the choice is yours." "Chosen for what?" I breathed, desperate. "To either embrace your family's history and wield its power, or to become a victim of it. Those people you saw earlier. They represent a faction that wants control. They won't stop until they claim what they believe to be their birthright." I backed away instinctively, reeling from the gravity of his words. "You're saying this win puts us in danger?" "Danger is too benign a word," he replied, the candor of his tone cutting deeper than venom. "You must prepare, it's a crossroad. Either leverage the power of your win against them or fall prey to their machinations." "Why should we trust you?" Dad interrupted, his closed posture radiating resentment. "You chose to disappear. You have no place here now. And yet here I am," Daniel snapped, his eyes fiery and relentless. "I knew you wouldn't listen. Your pride has blinded you to the very shadows that threaten your family. I would have chosen differently." The tension was so thick, it felt tangible, buzzing behind my temples like a pulsing heartbeat. Daniel's words echoed with haunting familiarity, the knot of anxiety that had been tightening since we'd first discussed the lottery jabbed me anew. But before I could respond, a sound pierced the night, a low hum, gradually rising towards us. We turned as headlights enveloped us. My heart sank, another vehicle was approaching, a heavy SUV that rolled into the driveway with imposing authority. Daniel's eyes widened, alarm flashing across his face. "They've come sooner than I expected. You don't have time, it's now or never." "Who?" I asked, my voice trembling as uncertainty threatened to drown me. "Those who will try to claim what's yours," he replied. "And they won't be kind. A sudden rush of adrenaline surged through me. I clutched Emila's hand tighter, casting a glance at Lily, her innocent presence a linchpin against the encroaching darkness. "We need to protect her, she can't be part of this, that we will shield her," Daniel said, his determination palpable, but there was something more in his Aisa call to action that ignited something deep within me. But I knew, this was bigger than me, it was about my family. I had pursued the truth for my sake and for my sister, but now it resonated as a burden each of us must carry together. As the vehicle's engine cut off and figures stepped into the glow of the porch light, I made my choice. "Regardless of loyalty, we stand united," I declared, heart pounding in my chest. "Whatever is coming, we face it as one." The sound of heavy footsteps approached, and I felt dread pooling in my stomach as a figure began to emerge from the shadows, silhouetted under the moonlight. It was a man dressed in a suit, an aura of authority shadowing his every move, and behind him trailed two other sharp-eyed individuals who seemed highly trained, predator-like as they assessed the scene before them. "Ainsley," the lead man said, holding his gaze steady and confident. "We need to talk about your family's legacy and prepare for what you've inadvertently awakened." The weight of all that was left unspoken crashed heavily upon us, and as I stood braced against the tide of uncertainty, I realized my journey had become much more than uncovering truths. It was about survival, consequences, and embracing the shadows that run through the very fabric of who I was. With an unyielding glance shared with Emily, I nodded. And there, in the embrace of moonlit uncertainty, I felt the flame of resolve ignite within me. "Let's get to work." The night unfolded, and as the reality of our family's entangled history loomed thick around us, I breathed deeply, aware that whatever lay ahead changed everything, yet somehow felt like the beginning of our redemption, a chance to reclaim our story amid the darkness. Maybe my family wasn't defined by the limits of betrayal and shadows, but by the unbreakable bond forged through the trials we faced together. And in that moment, as the first thread of courage began to unfold before us, I realized this was not just about uncovering buried secrets, it was a fight for our legacy of love, a battle against the claustrophobic shadows that had persisted for far too long. That we would not be victims, would become warriors. And the truth, though heavy, would light our path forward.